When you finally gather the courage to say the hard thing and speak up, do you ever find yourself second guessing what you've just said and thinking about backpedaling or waiting for the other shoe to drop? Maybe a knot forms in your stomach. You start to overthink, replaying every single word you just said in a loop. And then you feel this desperate, overwhelming urge to reach back out just to do damage control. Does that sound familiar? If we haven't met before, my name is Christina Solis, and I help you find your words, feel heard, and step into your power. That post-conversation hangover is a tricky phase where you did actually speak up, but instead of feeling relieved, you start second-guessing and feeling regret. But I want you to imagine a different scenario for a second. What if you could speak your truth, set a boundary, or share an opinion, and then walk away and feel a solid sense of accomplishment? What if you could actually be proud of yourself for speaking up, regardless of how the other person reacted? I'm here to tell you that you get to move towards what you actually want. You get to own your space, hold your ground, and walk away with a sense of satisfaction. A lot of us focus on a potential negative outcome, but I think it's important to also look beyond that. To get to that place of pride, we really have to look at why that regret hits so fast and so hard in the first place. There's a massive trap our brains fall into, and it comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding. Our brains have a tendency to confuse discomfort with disrespect. Think about it. Speaking up, setting a boundary, or telling someone no feels incredibly uncomfortable in your body. The butterflies flutter, your heart rate spikes, and your nervous system experiences a rush of friction. And because it feels heavy and uncomfortable, your brain instantly panics and reaches for a false conclusion. Any conclusion, really. And it says, oh wow, this feels terrible. So I must have done something wrong. I must have been disrespectful, mean, or selfish. If it doesn't feel good, we must have done something wrong. But I want you to consider this and anchor it into your belief system. Unless you were actively cruel, insulting, or malicious, you have absolutely nothing to apologize for. If you spoke harshly, critically, or with the intention of hurting the other person, that's a whole different story. But having a boundary, a different perspective, or a personal preference is not by itself an attack on the other person. It's simply honest information. You're letting them know where you stand. Your job is to feel your compassion, your authenticity, and know that your intentions are pure. If they choose to be upset by what you're saying, that's their threshold to manage, not a mess that you're required to clean up. You don't owe anyone an apology for existing with your own set of needs. I like to call this staying on your side of the tennis court. You're not allowed to step over the line onto their side. That's theirs to manage. The only thing you're in charge of is what you put out there. How you receive the ball and how you send it back, that's your side of the tennis court. So let me share with you a specific time I spoke up and felt proud of myself, whereas in the past I would have frozen or would have been super apologetic. A few years ago, I rented an office that was part of a larger office building. Property management had just replaced the AC, and of course it was working for everyone else, but it wasn't working for me in my office. So I remember I emailed property management and they specifically said, okay, the maintenance company will reach out to you directly to schedule a time, and then you guys can figure it out and see what's going on. Great, cool. So the following day, my neighbor reaches out to me and she says, hey, the maintenance company's here. And I was just starting to get ready for work because I wasn't due to be in the office just yet. In my mind, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean they're there? They're expecting me? They never reached out to me. I was told they will reach out to me. So I remember on the drive thinking about where I went wrong and all the things I must have missed. I was putting the blame on myself because I had those kind of anxious tendencies. I remember pulling up and I walked in the lobby and there was a technician sitting in the lobby. I thought he was the technician. He was wearing blue jeans, a blue shirt with the company logo. And I was like, "Hi, are you the maintenance man?" And he looked at me and he goes, "You think?" I remember pausing. And then the first thing I said was, "I was told that your company was going to reach out to me to schedule so that we could meet." And right then and there, he softened and he said, "Yeah, that was probably my fault. I'm not really good at checking my messages." And really, the whole situation just kind of diffused. And from that point forward, he was nice. I was nice. He went into my office. We figured it out. And everything was great. And I remember thinking after that exchange, I was just like, oh, wow. I don't even know what happened. I was amazed and I was like, okay, yeah, I need to take notes because I need to remember how to do this again for myself and also to help other people. So, how do we actually bridge the gap between that intense physical panic and the feeling of satisfaction and ease? How do we stop ourselves from letting the frantic need to backpedal and apologize energy taking over? So let's consider using a tool that I like to call the 5-minute decompression rule. And it's actually pretty simple. Here's what's actually happening in your body when you speak up vulnerably. Your body fires off a massive, sudden spike of adrenaline. It's a survival response. When the conversation ends, that adrenaline crashes. And if you don't know that crash is coming, you might mistake that as a new feeling for emotional regret. So from now on, when you finish speaking up for yourself and the panic hits, you're banned from trying to fix it for at least 5 minutes. 10 if you need, whatever amount of time you need, at least 5 minutes. And instead, you're going to let the physical wave pass. You're going to sit with the butterflies. You're going to take a deep breath. And you're going to deliberately bring in a new perspective. You can say something like this: "My body is processing adrenaline right now. This crash is normal. But I'm incredibly proud of myself for even saying something." And by doing this, you separate the chemical reaction from what's actually going on. You let your body calm down without letting it change your mind. You've worked hard to say what you need to say. You don't have to take responsibility for how the other person reacts. Now, it does take time to retrain your nervous system to tolerate that adrenaline crash, and you don't have to figure that out by yourself. If you're ready to stop replaying the situation over and over after the fact, and you want ways to stand by what you said with total confidence, I want to invite you to my free 4-day series. In the Foundations of Assertiveness Bootcamp, you and I are going to break down those exact internal blocks and regrets so that you can finally own your voice without losing your peace. Click the link in the description to get day 1 sent into your inbox immediately. You are entirely capable of walking through the discomfort and standing in your power. Talk to you soon.